Good morning. Welcome all of you. Today, Wednesday, 8th week in ordinary time. We have a very interesting passage for today in the Gospel of Mark, like in all the Gospels. The Synoptic Gospels: Matthew, Luke. We have three predictions of Jesus' death and resurrection. And here in Mark, after each one, there is a misunderstanding of the disciples. The disciples seems that they don't really accept what Jesus is saying, seeing that they have different ideas. They try to express them in various ways. I think so. We had some video in the past about it when we were ending the season, the ordinary season before Lent. That after first prediction of Jesus' death and resurrection, Peter trying to correct Jesus, trying to tell him that suffering will not come. Jesus trying to tell him, he's quite harsh with him, saying, "Get behind me, Satan." And he's explaining that there is the suffering, meaning of suffering, the death, but then resurrection. But it seems that they just heard death. Then the second prediction, and the apostles again, they fight who is the most important among them. And now we have the third prediction of Jesus. Let's see what happened now. From the Gospel according to Mark. They were on the road going up to Jerusalem. Jesus was walking on ahead of them, and were in a daze. And those who followed were apprehensive. Once more, taking the 12 aside, he began to tell them what was going to happen to him. Now we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man is about to be handed over to the chief priests and scribes. They will condemn him to death and will hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him and spit at him and scourge him and put him to death. And after 3 days he will rise again. James and John, the son of Zebedee, approached him. "Master," they said to him, "we want you to do us a favor." He said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Allow us to sit on your right hand and the other at your left in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what are you asking. Can you drink the cup that I shall drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I shall be baptized?" They replied, "We can." Jesus said to them, "The cup that I shall drink, you shall drink, and with the baptism with which I shall be baptized, you shall be baptized. But as for seats on my right hand or my left, these are not mine to grant. They belong to those to whom they have been allotted." When the other 10 heard this, they began to feel indignant with James and John. So Jesus called them to him and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles those they call the rulers lord it over them, and their great men make their authority felt. Among you this is not to happen. No. Anyone who wants to become great among you must be your servant, and anyone who wants to be first among you must be slave to all. For the Son of Man himself came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So we see Jesus is speaking about going up to Jerusalem, once again, that he will be tortured, he will be betrayed, he will be condemned to death by the religious authority and then handed over to Gentiles. But then, after his death, 3 days pass, he will rise again. And James and John want first places, to see that his right hand and at his left side in his glory. We see the other disciples who are indignant with them. I mean, they were angry with them, but not because they say, oh, these guys are horrible and we are better than them. No, they were angry with them because they were having in their heart the same attitude, to have their places, first places. So we see that once again, looking all these passages, we see that the apostles were weak people. They have their own temper. James and John in particular, they have been called the sons of thunder. There was a place where they were ready to ask for the rain from heaven to destroy some Samaritan towns which didn't welcome them. We see also in the other places, like Peter, who is first to grab the sword to fight and to cut the ear of one of the servants. So we see them quite hot-tempered people. We see them slow to understand their mission. But the Lord chose them, as He's calling each one of us, weak as we are. Some with the hot temper, some very slow to understand what He's really doing in our life. Many of us, if not all, who refuse the cross, who are afraid the cross, using even God Himself and religion and faith and everything we can, religiously speaking, to avoid the cross. Take away this cross, take away this suffering, fix this, Lord, give health, give money, give security, that nobody will get sick in my family, that there will be no conflict, that there will be no challenges. And the Lord is saying, I will be betrayed. I will go, on the cross. I will suffer. And it is to give, to serve and to give life as a ransom for many. And to see in the suffering and these challenges of life many times, maybe it is to save someone in our family, to save us. Because the cross, it is not a condemnation. Cross is announcement of God's victory. But anyway, coming back to James and John, even though they're still thinking the very earthly manners, we can see that they were I think so, the first time when they speak, they mention that they want to have part of God's glory, even though it's very human standards they look for. But there is something. They are running for the first places of glory, but we will see also that two of them will be quite fast in running towards the cross. John, the beloved disciple of Jesus, in the Gospel of John, will be portrayed as only one who remained under the cross. So the other disciples run away, being scared. Peter even denying publicly that he doesn't know Jesus, that he never met him. He's swearing and cursing that he don't know him. And we see only from among the disciples next to Mary is John. So he kind of understood that to the glory you go through the cross. We know that later on in his life, even though, according to tradition, he was not a martyr, that he was only one who died with natural death in the old age, but we know that he was persecuted, that he was exiled. So he undergo also, some rejections, misunderstanding. Yes, absolutely. And we see also James, James the Great, or greater, as first who gave his life for Jesus Christ. According to tradition, he was decapitated, martyrized, murdered in Jerusalem by Herod Agrippa in as early as year 44. So around 11 years after Jesus' condemnation. So we see that somehow, on one hand, we see them, all the disciples, who are very slow to understand what Jesus Christ is bringing, that it is really something what for humans is very difficult until today to accept. Yeah. I I have this perception that because we live in the Christian culture, at least we think that, it was influenced, many of us grew up with Christianity. So the gospel, praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. It's fantastic, it's lovely, it's amazing. Such a beautiful parables, and all the teaching is great. And we don't feel it that many times teaching of Jesus Christ was scandalous. He's speaking about this forgiveness, unlimited. He's speaking about the suffering, what is a victory of Christ. He's saying that, the rich ones who were considered, for example, to be blessed by God, that for them would be difficult to enter the kingdom of heaven. He was, teaching something not of this earth. No surprise that they were slow to understand him, and also to be patient with ourselves if we don't understand. As far we follow him, as far we let him to form us, even if this process is slow. But then, seeing that there will be some glimpse, and there will be some moments when we understand something. And maybe we will stay under the cross, like John. That is, when Jesus Christ will be speaking about his death and resurrection, maybe first we will just hear suffering, 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 suffering. But then one day we'll say, but there is glory, there is victory, there is resurrection. And then little by little, this fear will be conquered. And ourselves will be ready to give our own life as ransom for many. To enter in our life as serving the others, not expecting to be served, to be understood, to be appreciated. Not anymore. Giving life for the others in our daily life, in our families, in our working places, in schools, or whatever we have to do. Small things. Giving life for the others. Have a great day. God bless you.